We're Durand Jones and The Indications. We're at Life is Beautiful Festival here in Las Vegas, and you're watching uDiscover Music.
No, I haven't actually. So looking forward to it. Hopefully the crowd is as crazy as it was last night on the strip, you know. That was a good time. I just walked around. I was looking for something to eat. And all the little street musicians and I don't even know what to describe some of those people what they were doing out there. But yeah, it was crazy. It was really cool.
Yeah, we just originally made our record just hanging out for fun in our basement, and the goal was to make a collection of songs that sounded like maybe they could have been from, well, like you weren't sure what era you were listening to. So we just wanted to come up with a name that fit that when you saw it, you weren't sure if maybe this was an older act or a contemporary act. And the blank, blank, and the blank kind of convention is a pretty classic, like 60s sounding name. And that's where our influences were at the time of our first record. So, yeah, Durand Jones and The Indications. Well, I mean, things don't happen in a vacuum, and we love lots of different kinds of music. We all love hip hop, and that was really foundational for us, and especially like sample based hip hop. So it's almost like reverse engineering some of these samples, and if you start with like a hip hop framework, I think you wind up with a conclusion that's not like exactly like they would have done in the '60s or the '70s.
I got a thrift store in Long Beach. I bought Lee Dorsey. Got to Give It Up. I think is the name of the song. Give It Up, and it's like it has a really cool like electric sitar sample. That was I can't remember who sampled it, but it has this cool like bow, ba-dow, ba-bow, bow. You know what I'm talking about, right? And I was really excited to find that for like 50 cents. That was a good find. Yeah. Yeah, it's a good way to get out of the green room and like walk around, And I think record stores or thrift stores are like this really interesting like cross section of a city, and you get to meet people. And record stores were a huge part of how we got off the ground, and like you know, um, record clerks and the people that show up and buy records just being really excited about our debut was like a huge part of. So I think we're always excited to go to stores and just chat with people and maybe buy some 45s.
In some ways, yeah. Whenever we first got on the road, um, Coal Mine Records, the folks that put out our debut album, they had established such a great relationship with all these brick and mortar shops. And so anytime we would go to any of those cities that were familiar, where there was a record store that was familiar with us, they always came out and they always showed up and showed out. And that was always a really special honor. And I think through that, we got to meet and feel embrace from a lot of other communities. It was kind of like a snowball effect. It just rolled down the hill and just kept going. And we kept picking up people along the way.
We share for sure. A lot of times, somebody comes with like a vocal melody or a hook idea, a chord progression, and then you kind of bring it to this brain trust. It gets bounced around, and it's really special to be able to like share these ideas in this like brain trust where that like someone can help you see your vision or can like clarify your vision or can like bring this whole other dimension. And yeah, so it's a very collaborative process.
I think people are connecting with it because it has something for everyone within it. It's been really cool to see like people who are like primarily into punk rock coming to our shows being like, I love this music. Also, like people coming with their mothers and fathers, like it's it crosses bounds of generations, and I really do feel like the reason why we call this music soul music is because it links, or it can relate to you deep in your feelings, in that place where like you can't describe it as anything else but the soul. You know what I'm saying? It laments with you when you're sad. It rejoices when you're happy. It'll dance when you want to groove. And it's something that perhaps have been missing a little bit in the music world, but I'm glad that we embraced it, and people are loving what we do.
I feel like we have an obligation to do both, and I feel like people who are politically engaged like have an obligation to themselves to find that balance, because like if you're always in like warrior mode, if you're always in like activist mode, like activist burnout is a real thing, and you have to find the time to recharge for yourself, to like kind of find like the tenderness within yourself so that you can balance it out when you go back out and like advocate for these really heavy issues and these really serious fights that are happening.
Aaron actually wrote the tune. We were in his apartment in New York City, and this dude talks about hip hop so much, and I really do feel like this tune is the most hip hop tune on the record. So back in 2016, we would just like record. No, it was 2017. We would like record ourselves like in sound check and whatnot, and our piano player was playing this lick, and basically Aaron took the recording and he spliced it up, and he basically sampled it, and like that's basically like that's the backing track. It's like, I mean, we play it live, but in the demo it was a sample pretty much.
Yeah, for sure, it was a loop. And I'd been listening to a lot of Gil Scott-Heron, who he's one of my heroes and like one of my biggest influences, lyrically, musically, and just trying to like channel like his energy and his spirit. And the idea was to like take a snapshot of the country just like at one moment and just kind of see what was happening in all these different places. And it was right around the time that I had learned about the Poor People's Campaign, which is a movement started by Martin Luther King Jr. That's about racial justice, but also like marrying that with like economic justice and class unity, which is a really powerful thing at a time when a lot of people like we're so divided amongst like along so many different lines, to be able to like look at what unites us, which for a lot of people is class. It was a powerful thing, so we were just trying to write about that.
Jay-Z Blueprint definitely comes to mind for me. Also, Lil Wayne's The Carter 3. I really love that album so much. It just brings back great feelings. And everybody in Louisiana was jamming to it. 60-year-old people, I hear them in the Walmart, humming a Lil Wayne tune. I'd be like, what's going on? But yeah, those two are very close to me.
Oh my gosh. I mean, Illmatic, comes to mind. Reasonable Doubt, for sure, of course. I think Enter the Stage by Black Moon is like criminally underrated. Those are like my big three, probably.
My brother gave me like this Outkast CD when I was like 10 years for my 10th birthday, and that was like so like pivotal in my life of just like this like, because I grew up in like West Michigan and I wasn't like surrounded by like hip hop, but I heard this like Outkast song come on the radio and I was like, yeah, I like that. And that kind of combination of hip hop and R&B and like all these different influences and like just Andre 3000's whole vibe. I remember just being a young kid and being like, this is really cool.
For me, I will say Listen to Your Heart. I just think the production on that tune is so beautiful. I really love the message. I like the feel, the vibe. I really do feel like that song really encapsulates um, where we are today compared to where we were on the first debut album. So yeah, that one really sticks out in my head. What about y'all?
Agreed.
I mean, the process was like almost completely different. Like everyone says that you have your whole life to write a debut record, and then you have 18 months to write your second record. We did the first one in our basement, and we would kind of like record. We'd write the songs as we were recording them, and then for this one we like demoed 20 or 30 songs, and then we'd workshop them live sometimes, and then we got into the studio and we had and worked with an arranger. So we learned a lot while working on the second record, and I think moving forward I want to kind of combine, because I really loved working on the first record. Was so much fun to work on because it was just like you'd start in the basement with a song and it would just start evolving, and this energy would be so great because you took this thing that was just one little idea, and then over the course of an evening you have a finished song that's like all these ideas are just thrown together. And but we definitely learned a lot working on the second one too, just like I said, having to do it quicker and that kind of thing. And I want to work with both ideas because I think both strategies are really like important to the songwriting process.
I think honestly, to me, like the most surprising thing is just seeing people in the audience singing the songs. Like that is so pleasant. And this is the only band that I've ever played with where, you know, people will know the originals and sing them word for word with the band, and it's so beautiful to me.
I mean, I think we're still figuring it out. Um, we've been touring like incredibly hard this year. So, like for me, I think Discover Weekly, like on Spotify, has been a really great tool for like just keeping my mind active, because it's like it's easy to kind of like when you're doing music all the time to like not focus as much on that like exploratory part of like your love for music. So that's been a great way to just like at least once a week I sit down and I'm just like in the van, I can just plug in and like hear a bunch of songs that I probably haven't heard before.
Getting some new songs hashed out in the studio. That'd be really, really cool. And I think we all live in 3 different places right now. So I think, and we've all been writing our by ourselves, what we feel like would be really good for the group. And can't wait to see what's going to happen when we all 3 get back together and jam on some stuff.